Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday, November 18th, 2024 regular meeting of Board of Education. The first item on the agenda is 222.25, Pledge Allegiance to the Flag. We have a couple students here from Graham, right? Avery Sykes and Riley Hope, and do we have that? Yep, Dallas Anderson.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is that on?
Is it the right button?
I will just use my teacher voice. Okay, my name is Lisa Shepard. I'm the principal at PD Graham Elementary School, and I have three fifth graders here with me this evening. First, we have Dallas Anderson, and Dallas is a fifth grade student in Miss Green's class. His favorite subject in school is math. His favorite specials class are art and music. Dallas is a member of the service squad at school and helps out in the lunchroom every day. He is also a member of the school newspaper team for the Graham Gazette. Outside of school, Dallas likes to make comics. He also likes to animate on his iPad. His favorite food is pad thai and peanut curry. When Dallas everyone here's hungry. When Dallas grows up, he said that he would like to teach people how to make comics. Okay, this next little lovely lady is Avery Sykes. And Avery is a fifth grade student in Miss Gamble's class at Graham. She has two favorite subjects in school, science and history. Her favorite special is also music and art. Avery's on the service squad at Graham, and outside of school, she likes to read and play outside. When she grows up, Avery would like to be a nurse, or a veterinarian, or a doctor.
Wow.
Hey, Riley. This is Riley Hope. Riley is a fifth grade student in Mr. Bicey's class at Graham Elementary. Her favorite subject in school is math. Her favorite special class at school is art. Riley is on the safety squad as well as the girls' basketball team and cheer team. Riley's favorite food is her mom's buffalo chicken dip. Outside of school, her favorite thing to do is to annoy her older brother. When she grows up, she would like to be a fashion designer.
Nice.
Riley is also going to see Wicked tonight. Ticket ahead of everyone else, and we're so jealous.
We're jealous.
Right up here, guys.
Good job.
Thank you, and Ms. Shepard will be giving us an update on Graham a little bit later in the meeting. The next item on the agenda is 223.25, roll call and attendance. Ms. Hines?
Miss Abby Mitchell. Absent. Dr. Weaver.
Here.
Ms. Hines present. Ms. May.
Present.
Mr. Neal. Absent. And Mr. Cox.
Present.
And Mr. Gray. Or
Present.
President Gray.
Present.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't even count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2.
All right, we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is 224.25, adjournment to a closed session. I move that the Board of Education will adjourn to closed session pursuant to 8C to consult with its attorney regarding the purpose of strategy and negotiation sessions connected with a collective bargaining agreement according to the Open Meetings Act.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item is 225.25, adjournment to an open meeting. I move to adjourn to the open meeting. Do I have support?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item on the agenda is 226.25, recognitions and presentations. The first one we have is a building update about Graham Elementary School from Lisa Shepard.
Hello, everyone. Okay, hopefully this will work. So as I mentioned earlier this evening, I'm the principal at PD Graham. I'm going to just go through here. Okay, here we go. So here we are, our demographics. We have 437 students currently, which we are up about 20 students from last year. 18 gen ed classes of K through 5. We have one young fives class, 6 special ed Act 18 rooms. So we have 3 ASD classrooms that are Act 18. We have 1 PO-High classroom that is Act 18. And we have 2 preschool rooms, a morning and an afternoon. So we have about 90 students in our building that receive special ed services. So it's pretty heavily with special ed, so we work pretty hard. Our team is pretty awesome. We have a multilingual population of about 2.5%. There's 11 students in our building that are receiving services for that. And our mobility rate is 3%. So we have, I was asking about this the other day, 11 mobile students and 393 that are stable. Attendance. I think this is a big one for almost everybody in the district. So our full day rate is 85%. Our tardies, we have about a 4% average daily rate so far this year. That's what we looked at for this year. Chronic absenteeism. I'm just going to bring your eyes to the second bullet because this is a huge issue for us. 70 students with 6 to 10 absences. And you know, we do a lot of things in our building to promote good attendance. I've done contests where we've done grade level contests where we try to say the percentage. I would do that like once a week and report it. It wasn't making a difference, I guess. So we were trying to do other things like we do at assemblies, just calling off students that have perfect attendance for the month is our next goal for this month coming up. I do send dojo messages to parents because I find when I call, they don't always answer. So if I dojo message them, I can see that they've received it and I get responses usually, or their child shows up the next day. That's usually what happens. So just trying to recognize the kids that are there too and give them some credit for coming to school every day is super important. But something we are definitely working on as a school. So our student well-being, our social emotional learning, we use the Positivity Project at our school, something that we also work and teach our parents. I put it in our weekly newsletter, just our character trait that we're working on every week so that they can talk about it at home. We also have our life skills class where our teacher focuses on that as well. We show the Positivity Project every morning on announcements. So teachers they really buy into that and they love the program. So, and I know there's other schools in the district that use it as well. We have 1.5 social workers, 1 school psychologist. We use the program Care Solace to refer out to therapy for children or staff or family members, and we've used it quite a bit. It's a pretty good program for parents, and it helps them find services if they need that. We have 55 students in our building receiving mental health services from our social workers. We have free and reduced lunch access. Obviously, everyone gets free and reduced lunch. We have our health clinic in our district that we use at Adams. Our students can use the Adams Clinic. Some of the things that we do that we're working on with PBIS is we found in the past that sometimes we don't talk about it enough. So this year I've been putting it on announcements every day. We focus on a certain area every single day, just about respectful, responsible, safe, and kind. And we really try to use that language in our building, and we just are going to work with RISA to kind of bring it back to our staff again so that we can boost it up when we come back from winter break, because we all need a refresher when we come back from break. We also do student mentoring. So we have staff members in the building that reach out to students if they're struggling with behavior, attendance, anything like that, academics, and we partner them up with a former teacher or just another teacher in the building that kind of takes interest in them. The social workers really do a lot in our building with the FRC. We refer families out to the FRC. We also work with some churches. We're doing holiday assistance. I think this year we had 26 families reach out for holiday assistance, which is the most we've ever had at Graham. So we're working on helping all of them. Student achievement. So our reading goals, our reading scores, were 56% of our students met their fall to spring growth goal, and 69% of our students met their fall to spring math goal. So we were pretty proud of that because math was an issue for us. So we were working hard with that tutoring last year. Our literacy goal is that our teachers are going to meet with students 3 times a week in small groups because we feel like that's the most effective thing to help students move forward. Our college and career readiness goal is to expose students to different careers, college opportunities, trade opportunities. And what we've started doing in our announcements is putting kind of our college information into the announcements, just showing kids where we went to school, what we did, what was our favorite part about going to school, and then we can talk about that. So they get to see where all the teachers went to school. So that's kind of a way to start it and talk about college with them. And then, as I mentioned before, SEL is our positivity project that we do every day on announcements. And there's a whole program with it, so it's something everybody can talk about together. Points of pride. So we had the Secretary of the Year, Miss Bobby Jo Harper, who is absolutely phenomenal. She runs our office like a champion, and I wouldn't be able to do it without her. She's amazing. We had 2 teachers that won foundation grants. We have a school-wide recycling program that we partnered with the city of Westland. So we have about 8 of those giant recycling bins in our building, and at lunch, we recycle as much as we can. We taught the kids about what they can recycle. We put them in big tubs. Our 5th graders wash all the stuff out every day. We put it into the bins, and then we put the bins out in the front of the school, and they come by and pick them up. We might have gotten in trouble from a neighbor because they were upset that we were getting it every week, and they weren't. But whatever. But we're recycling, and that's all that matters. I just put this on here. I did win Principal of the Year a couple of years ago, but it's a point of pride. But thank you. But it was very unexpected when that happened. We have a wonderful student council with a 5th grade teacher that runs that. We've done this little activity called Socktober with one of our 4th grade teachers, and she collected 610 pairs of socks that we donated to the FRC this year. All of our students in 5th grade have the opportunity to go to camp, and they go for 5 days. They raise a lot of money, and last year each kid was able to go to camp for $100 because of the money we raised. So they work real hard all year to do that. And then they start right after those 5th graders go, the next grade starts working on their year. We have our peer-to-peer program we use with our ASD rooms. We have students go into the ASD classrooms and help. And I know they've done that in middle school, but we started doing it at our building, and it's really successful. At our field day, it was so emotional. I couldn't even hold back my tears because they were so excited to help the little guys, and it was just so cute. So our kindergarten teachers wrote a grant for the zoo and received that. We have a school newspaper, and we have a very experienced staff. Not saying veteran, I'm saying very experienced, because we do. And I think that's it. Does anyone have questions?
Ms. Hines?
Yes, I just had a question with the absenteeism. I know over at David Hicks, they had a really big problem with that. And the problem is too, with it being an elementary school, it's more of a parent issue. So, definitely we need to have some social workers get to the homes and see, because maybe the parents are on drugs, maybe they work midnights. A lot of times too, when you're low income, a lot of times the brothers and sisters are watching the kids and they not going to school.
Yep.
So Definitely, we would like to work more with our, some type of programs to help, like, kind of go into the houses and see what's going on. Because unfortunately, when you're missing school, you're not getting the right grades. You're missing, like, especially math. It's super
Right.
important. So when you
Right.
learn one step, you can't skip a couple of days and miss it in test. And once you fall behind, it's very difficult to catch up. So maybe something like some type of social worker, like what are those police officers, those truancy people to come out? Yeah, truant officers to kind of come out, because at the elementary level, that's more of a parent issue, because the kids really, can't
Right.
control getting to school. Because when I talked to Miss G some years ago, when they had an issue with it, she even had buses come, out of her pocket to come to the houses, and they still had a high truancy. So, maybe some type of truant officer, some social work, because it is a home issue.
I think a lot of it too is even after COVID, it's just been a lot of parents are, I don't know if they're afraid of sending their kids to school, or I really don't know what it is. I just try really hard to call and make a connection with them somehow to let them know that we care and bring your child to school. They get free lunch, they get free breakfast. Like, we want them here. They're going to learn. It's just the relationship piece, I think, is really big too. Because if they enjoy being at school, then they want to be there.
And another issue could be the buses too. I know we are having some issues with that, and that can kind of hurt us with the truancy as well. Because, like, for instance, when my son, he went to he went to the Turner School over in Wayne, and we lived in Westland. So when they didn't have a bus, I was late to work every day, taking him all the way from Westland all the way to Wayne,
Right.
because they didn't have the buses. Or sometimes he would have to take the city bus. It was like 5 miles. So that was an issue as well when we had those bus cancellations.
Yeah.
Ms. May?
Thank you. So I have two things. First, well,
Sure.
three. So the first one is to say thank you. Thank you
welcome.
for being here this evening. Thank you for having the students here this evening to lead us in the pledge.
Sure.
And thank you for putting together this wonderful presentation. Two questions that I have. I'm going to piggyback with Mrs. Hines. You talked a little bit about we talked a lot about attendance, but one of the key points that you talked about was relationships. And so I would love to hear some of the things that are happening in the building to help foster those relationships with students. And then the second question I'd like to ask is, what support do you feel as though your building, your teachers need to increase the small group instruction from 3 times a week to 5 times a week?
Time. I would say, just from being a former teacher myself, like, that is just scheduling, and there's curriculum that has to be, done by math, science, social studies. The reading programs that we have now, like really great reading and bookworms, it's pretty heavy. And so that takes a big chunk of their time. I would say if I was teaching it in the morning, it would take probably 2 hours out of my morning, and then fitting in for special and all of that. There are kids that are probably seen 5 times a week because of their ability level at the time. If they're really struggling and they're behind, they're getting seen by their teacher, but they're also getting seen by the reading interventionist. So they are getting seen quite a bit. I'm sure teachers could fit in 5 times a week with some students, and maybe not exactly like during their intervention time. They might pull a student right in the morning when they're eating breakfast or something like that, just to get to be with them and talk to them. But I would say that's the biggest hurdle, is time.
Thank you.
And then relationships, I just think our staff works really hard at that, just talking to parents, communicating with parents as much as possible. Students, I don't see that being an issue for anyone in the building.
No, and I
Relationship
didn't,
piece.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't
No.
mean it as an issue, but just to,
Right.
as you're sharing your points of pride, just
Right.
sharing some of those things that you all do
Yeah.
to build relationships with students.
Yeah, I think parent nights that we do, just, having parents come in and just being visible out there with them and talking with them, being with what's their family up to, and those kind of things like that. Just inviting them in the building and making them feel welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Abby Mitchell?
Yes. Thank you so much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
And they asked most of the questions I had about attendance and what's going on in your building. But my question is to you, do you feel like you being supported?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I wish you luck with winning, Principal of the Year.
I'm good. Someone else can win it. I'm
Somebody,
good.
you good? All right.
Thank you, though.
Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. No, clapping's good.
I know.
You can do that. Don't stop that. Next, we have a building update from Adams Middle School with Stacy Pukowski.
Hi, good evening. I'm Stacy Bukowski. I am the principal at Adams Middle School, so thank you everybody for being here. Okay, we're gonna start off with our demographics. So we proudly serve 605 students. 47% of our students are African American. 20% of our students are special ed. 37% are Caucasian. We have 8% of our students that are multilingual. And then other ethnicities are economically disadvantaged, is 16%. We have 2 ASD classrooms in our building. We have a cognitively impaired classroom. We are currently servicing 53 multilingual students. We have intervention classes for math and ELA, and then we have several co-taught classrooms, and then our resource classrooms. Bear with me here. Okay, that's not going. There we go. Our average attendant rate, so 91% of our students attend at least half of the day. 70% of students attend whole day. And then 97.6% of our student population are consistently on time for class. We've been really working hard on tardies, and we've really made a turnaround with kids getting to class on time. So academic achievement, we just did NWEA, we just completed that, and it's a lot of baseline data, so I wanted to show you the good things that were going on. Not that our data is terrible, but it's baseline, so I can give you comparisons come this winter. But we had 90 of our 8th grade students make the honor roll. We had 105 7th grade students make the honor roll, and then 116 of our 6th grade students made the honor roll. This is for marking period 1. 51.4% of our students made the honor roll for marking period 1. So that was amazing to give those certificates to those kids. This clicker does not like me, I apologize. So how do we reward students? So we have a monthly PBIS reward party. This was from our October, we had a Halloween dance. And students can earn points in classes for being respectful, responsible, and safe. We also link this with tardies, their behavior, and academic incentives to our PBIS parties. So our October PBIS party, we have 605 students, 437 students qualified for our October PBIS party. And our PBIS store is ran by our post-secondary students who are housed at Adams Middle School. Student well-being, Adams also has the Positivity Project, and it's new for us this school year. We just finished up with Bravery. This week is Gratitude. So our instructional focus this year was helping students practice stress reduction and coping techniques, and the Positivity Project has really helped with that. We just got some training on the Positivity Project during our PD Day in November. We've been using Positivity Project since that PD Day, and it's, again, I put it in the newsletter for parents. We have daily slides for the kids to work on, questions, videos, and it's the kids are starting to talk about it. We're all starting to talk about it. So it's our SEL initiative as well. It's really had a positive impact on the student body. So Adams Middle School, we love getting to know our students and their stories, and we pride ourselves on the ability to build trusting, caring relationships with our students. We all know that it comes down to relationships. And so here's some pictures of us on Halloween. We did a Pops fundraiser, and that's Miss Abbott giving away one of our students with his prizes. And then Miss Lentz, she runs our pep club. It's getting comical. Math class. So in our Math 180 class, so this is a foundational class. This is to help students that need extra support. So every single student in Miss Boydum's 8th grade class achieved or surpassed their completion goal on Math 180. Her students earned certificates. She has this chart in her classroom that you could see there. These certificates are up on the wall, and then they also use Extra Math as the online program. So that's what Miss Boydum does to celebrate her students. Constitution Day. This year, Adams 7th and 8th grade students were able to view a live court proceeding. They actually came to Adams and held court. This was compliments of the 18th District Court. Our Eagles experienced firsthand how the Constitution supports the judicial branch of the government. Students were literally coming up to me. They're like, Ms. Bukowski, was that real court? Yeah, you got to see court in action. National History Day. This is a point of pride for us as well. It's a year-long educational program that Mr. Lowe and Miss D'Angelo run. It helps the students learn about history and develop critical thinking skills. Several Adams Middle School students flew to Maine last year to compete in the national competition. So they compete locally, then they go to the state level, and then they made it to the national level. Student spotlight. So going back to my honor roll, I wanted to spotlight a couple of students. So Jalen, while we were giving out the certificates for honor roll, Jalen stands up. And it was a moment where I actually had to turn around because I teared up, and he started cheering and clapping. And by the end of us handing out these certificates, every 8th grader was clapping and high-fiving each other for making the honor roll. And he is the kiddo that started that. And then Lenny, we had a Spanish-speaking family in our office, and my secretary, they were trying to both figure out what each other were saying. And Lenny was in the office, and he stepped in, and he started translating. And it was beautiful, and he was articulate, and he helped the family. The mom ended up hugging him. I ended up hugging him. We were so proud of him because he really helped us with that language barrier. So we were really, really thankful for Lenny being in the office that morning. And then, do you have any questions? Yes.
Times.
I'd like to say I'm so proud of you. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
One thing I love about you having those statistics is that you're giving them a good base, so that way they'll be ready when they go to high school. I used to do a lot when my son went to Marshall, and I noticed like you were that good class where they were all like getting an honor roll and stuff like that, and they kind of followed them through. So thank you so much for what you're doing. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Ms. May?
Yes, I was just gonna say thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for highlighting the students, and thank you for sharing the things that you all are doing to build those relationships and to have the students excited and motivated. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Abby Mitchell?
I would also like to say thank you and highlight what they said, and we appreciate you. And I'd also like to ask you, do you feel like you're being supported?
Oh, absolutely. This team, I mean, we are,
That's your support right there.
they are amazing. Couldn't do it without them.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for what you do.
Yes, thank you. Have a great evening.
Next, we have a presentation on student achievement and attendance. We have Joe Orban, Director of State Assessment and Data Analysis, Nancy Schultz, Director of Professional Development and School Improvement, and John Bessick, Director of Student Services. Thank you for
Good
being with
evening,
us.
I'm Joe Orban, I'm the Director of Assessment and Data Analysis, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about a big initiative that we've had going on for the last few years, our work toward a balanced assessment system. I'm gonna be really brief because people know I could talk for hours about this and have, but I'm not going to do that tonight, thankfully, I'll be brief. But this is an important piece that we've been working on for a number of years, and I want to talk about how, why, and what we're doing. So with that, before we get to the actual data, this can not behave for me. Whoop, I went too far, didn't I? So in this ecosystem of schools, we have decision makers who are trying to make decisions at all different levels. We've got at the state, they're trying to figure out what students need more support? Are there certain segments, subgroups of our population that need additional support? District policymakers, Board of Education, they're trying to figure out, do we have the systems in place to support teachers and students to maximize their learning? Is the adopted instructional program doing what we want it to do? Teachers have decisions to make. What standards have each of my students mastered? Where are my students in their learning? What comes next for my 25 or 40 or 150 students? And therefore, my instruction. Families need to know, how's my child doing? What can I do to help? And then students, this is the piece that we sometimes forget about. Students are consumers. They make decisions every day. There are a lot of teachers in the room tonight. We know that if students make a decision not to participate in school, it's a challenging day. And it's a tough thing to turn around. We need to include them in their education, in the information, and in their schooling. The information needs of all those stakeholder groups is important, but they need different data and different types of assessments that are built to provide that data. If a group of stakeholders does not have access to the appropriate data that meets their needs, they have no hope of making valid, data-driven decisions, no matter how good their intentions are. Our work on a balanced assessment system is our attempt to meet the legitimate needs of all those stakeholders and provide them with the information that they need. Need to talk about assessment real quick. I need to redefine that. We often talk about tests and assessments as synonyms, that they're the same thing. They're not the same thing. Assessments is basically gathering evidence to make good decisions for students. Tests are an assessment, but not all assessments are tests. We get that information in a lot of different ways. We question students, we let them do performances, we let them do other things to gather evidence. All of those are assessment and gathering evidence. So when we say a balanced assessment system, we're not talking about tests. We're talking about all of that evidence that we're gathering. Comes down, you'll hear these terms, a little vocabulary here. Most of the teachers in the room have heard these terms before. Summative assessment is assessment of learning. That tells us, have students learned what we want them to learn? Formative assessment is assessment for learning. So as you're going through the process, we all make mistakes when we're trying to go to video games. When you're playing a video game and you die on a level, right? You start over and you learn from it and you do the next thing. That's formative assessment. You're learning along the way. Here's the thing with summative assessment. Those are the big tests. When we see, do students learn? There's no research that said, we've been given standardized tests since the 60s. Student achievement has not increased over that time. There is no evidence that summative assessments help students learn. Okay, they're important, they have a purpose, but they don't help students learn. They tell us whether they learn.
Where they at? Yes.
Formative assessment, a gentleman by the name of Dylan William first addressed this. Inside the Black Hole was the name of the book in 1998. But they summarized 5 research projects on formative assessment. And then several years later, they looked at 4,000 overall. A bunch more had been done. And the conclusion was clear. When implemented well, formative assessment can effectively double the speed of student learning, especially your most at-risk students. Okay? When done well, are we prepared? What are we going to do? Do we have answers to all that stuff? That's when I say done well, we're ready to do that. Another term in the middle of this, interim assessments. Just real quick, it's become, interim assessments are tests or assessments that are designed initially to tell us whether students learned, but they happen frequently enough that if students don't do well on them, we can use them formatively to go back, and if we find any and identify any weak areas, we can go back and address those. So that terms come in interim assessment. So spring of 2019, there's a few people in the room who were part of this. We pulled together a group, worked with MDE, the Michigan Assessment Consortium, and Wayne Risa, with the idea of building this balanced assessment system. The group went through and learned much of this information and took a look at where we want to spend our time, where we want to spend our focus. That group determined rightly that formative assessment was a place that we wanted to spend our time, and we needed interim assessment to connect the formative in the classroom to the M-STEP. We found out we didn't have those really. So the two big focuses that came out of that is we needed to develop interim assessments, and we needed to focus on assessment for learning. What if you don't have those interim assessments? This is from EduClimber. This is an example. In this system, as in most systems that you see like this, green and blue are good, red's not so good.
Right.
This is the top one is elementary literacy. The nice thing about EduClimber is it pulls assessment, big summative tests together along with localized information like grades and such. I didn't have to look very long to find these. This is a couple years ago. But if you look at, on the right-hand side, those are essentially the students' grades. On the left side, Phonics and Pinnell, which has kind of been replaced by letters, and the phonics-based assessments. And then you see MAP is NWA. The student on the top got pretty good grades and everything, but they're in the bottom 20% on the MAP test. Elementary math, students got all fours, which is the highest grades, bottom 20%. In math, not proficient on the M-STEP. Middle school, all Bs. M-STEP, not proficient. MAP reading, bottom 20%. High school math, A's and B's in Algebra 2, not proficient, bottom 20% in math on NWA. And then I didn't have the performance band turned on, but 530 is college and career readiness score on the SAT. So that's not close. So we had a disconnect. We recognized that. Nobody's fault really, but we didn't have the mechanism to show that we're not lined up. So the group went to work. This is, and imagined our desired state, if you will. This is where we want to be. Are we here yet? No. Have we started the work? Yes. So spring 2019, just like instruction lines up, standards on this thing, blue is the state, green is the district, orange is teacher-driven, and red is involving the student. In the same way, assessment needs to line up. In the classroom, and the size of the bubbles, if you will, is the time and effort that is spent in each of those. And you'll see that in the classroom, daily formative assessment between the teacher and the student is the most important one and where we need to spend most of our time, going on up all the way through state assessments. So the formative assessment should inform how students are going to do on the interim assessments, and those should inform how they're going to do on NWA if you're aligned in the state assessment. They should be predictors. The problem why the state doesn't really help us much is because it's got to go through that entire loop before it gets back to the student. It's got to go up. We give the test once a year. We used to try and break it down 87 different ways, even in March after the kids had taken it almost a year before. We're trying to look at that, and it just doesn't give you feedback. It all gets lost in translation by the time it gets back to the student. So we need to have feedback loops that give information back and forth. So that's our our desired balanced assessment system. With the major focus on the formative assessment process in the classroom, in the moment. So, different uses, formative assessment, teachers, student-teacher teams, interim assessment, curriculum and instructional leaders, teacher teams, individual teachers with their students to explain the results and where the gaps might be. And then summative assessment is where the board would live. NWA data, SAT, M-STEP data, that's going to give you the information that you're looking for. So with that, that's one of our big projects that we're working on, been working on since spring of 2019. Unfortunately, we got interrupted by the pandemic pretty severely. Relaunched it about a year ago. And we currently have FAME teams. FAME is Formative Assessment for Michigan Educators with the state of Michigan. We are the only district in the state who has a FAME team in every single building. They're paying a lot of attention to us, and we got about a third of our teachers involved in FAME teams, and it's voluntary. So getting great feedback on that. So thank you. I probably went longer than I meant to, but that I'm going to turn it over to Nancy to talk about the road.
Great. Now I know I don't want that student profile filling out. I'm here to share with you some of that summative data. The district demographics are illustrated here. We have 5.5% of our population being multilingual learners. By the way, good evening, board. Thank you for having me. Our special education population makes up about 18.5% of our student population. Our ethnicities can be broken down by our top four being 42% Caucasian, 41% African American, 7% Hispanic, and 5% multi-ethnic. And this is our overall growth data. We're going to be looking at growth data in this whole presentation. And so this is the district's growth data, and you can kind of compare it to this slide here. So you can see we've got about a 45% of our overall student body in literacy meeting their projected growth. Projected growth is determined by NWEA based upon a student's year, their age, their grade, and their starting point of academic performance, and then all of that is ranked in accordance with all the students in the country, world who take NWEA. And so you're looking for about a 50% would be an average growth to be made in any given year. Obviously, the more the better, but your typical growth chart. Now it's my turn for the game. Here's our spring 2024. So last spring, our elementary NWEA reading, and I included 2 years worth of data for you to be able to do comparatively. This is just elementary reading. I won't read to you numbers, but I'll let you look at these. This is K through 5. And data should raise more questions than answers, and so I'm sure you're making noticings and wonderings, which you'll have, and we'll circle back to at some point. And then we have our spring 2024 secondary NWEA data, grades 6 through 12. This is in literacy. We have our elementary math data, K through 5. And you can see each year, goes year by year. The charts are going to change in a little bit just the way EduClimber pulls it, but you can see comparative 22-23 to 23-24 side by side. Secondary math. When broken down by ethnicity for our secondary literacy, you can see you have to kind of go across the chart. You have 22-23 being the first column for African American students versus the fifth column for the last year. So you kind of have to jump across to look at that comparative data. But this is by ethnicity for elementary, secondary reading, meeting projected growth by ethnicity. And then free and reduced lunch comparative data. So I put back in the district's normative data there, the overall K-12. So this is K-12 by lunch status. The left being students who have free and reduced lunch, the right being the whole district. And then by special education, students who are identified in some category of special education, whether it be speech and language or ASD. And on the left, we can see our overall K-12 performance data there, or growth data, excuse me, versus the district. And our multilingual learner performance data as comparative. to the districts on the whole? And we'll hand it over to Mr. Bessick for our attendance and student achievement.
Thank you. So I think it comes as a shock to nobody that in order to move those numbers with our student achievement, we need to improve attendance. And as you can see up there, it says poor attendance can influence whether children will read proficiently by the end of third grade or be held back. And when students improve attendance, they improve their academic prospects and chances for graduating. And I think we've kind of talked about that when the two principals were doing their presentations as well. Students who are engaged, students who are excited to be at school have better attendance. And, you know, we try not to, as we're talking to students, we don't want to, you know, infer and kind of figure out why student parents aren't sending kids. We want to see if we can identify barriers, break them down, get the kids to school on a daily basis. So last year, actually about 2 years ago, we started a comprehensive attendance committee. And the committee, the final work of it was coming up with a brand new attendance policy. And it was a comprehensive plan, including interventions, support, incentives for students, specifically targeting chronically absent and truant students. And as it says, teachers can't teach students who aren't here. It's just common sense. You learn more if you are in school. And there was a study done recently too. It said if you miss like 2 minutes per class per day over the course of a school year, you're missing like 3 weeks of instruction per year. The other part of that is that people don't realize, even when students are tardy, every time a student comes in late, they're interrupting the class because the teacher's got to stop what they're doing, get that student involved, and welcome into the classroom. So the attendance policy that we had came up with like I said, it's very comprehensive, where it was a combination of interventions from the teaching staff, the administrative staff, central office, and then our partners with Wayne Youth Assistance and Westland Youth Services. And again, it was more to make these connections, to break down the barriers, identify the barriers, and work with the school to break them down. Some cases, a lot of it was due to like the post-COVID years, where parents were still a little bit reluctant to send students to school. In some cases, like Ms. Hines said, it could be kids who are staying home to take care of another sibling. So once we identify those things and see if we can help them through the Family Resource Center or just no matter what we can do to support them, it'll improve attendance. And we had that attendance policy in place for an entire school year. So last year we saw these improvements. So the 43% there for the K-5 students in 22-23, that was the percentage of students who were truant. That means they missed 10% of the school year, 18 absences or more. 23-24, we saw a 4% reduction in those numbers from the elementary level. From grades 6 to 8, it went from 43 to 41, a 2% decrease. And at the high school level, I believe they did the most work, we saw a 14% reduction in the truancy numbers. Overall, a 6% decrease. So we see that we are really top-heavy in terms of what supports we had for the secondary students, and it kind of shows in this data as well that that's where we saw our biggest decrease. So, the one thing, this is not unique to Wayne Westland. It's not unique to Wayne County. It's not unique to the state of Michigan. This is a nationwide issue with attendance. So there's no one clear fix in how to get students into school. But if you remember Franklin Roosevelt, when he was president during the Great Depression, they said, how do you fix the Depression? He said, you try something, you try anything, you never stop trying. And that's what we're doing with this attendance policy. Anything that we think is gonna work, we try it and we see if it's going to be successful in improving the attendance. Any questions for Mr. Orban or Ms. Schultz?
Ms. Abby Mitchell first, and then Ms. Hines.
I just want to say thank you. We appreciate you. And this enlightens us more. The board get a better view of what's going on in the district. So thank you. And have a good evening.
Thank you.
I know it's late for you. You was making me sleepy. I know you get up at 4 in the morning. Mel, you got something?
Yes, I'd like to thank you guys for this presentation today. One thing that concerns me a lot of times is some of the test scores drop when we get to the secondary part, and that's the most important because we got to make sure our kids are prepared for college. So what do you think we can do to prepare, or is there anything we can do to help increase those numbers for secondary education when it comes to like the test scores? Because the sad part is our kids aren't even proficient, you know, and as board members, we do get slack, you know, in the community, like, oh, this kids, you know, so we have to deal with that a lot of times. And I know you guys are working really hard, so what do you think could help improve those numbers for the secondary education?
Well, obviously, from my perspective, we've got to connect what's going on in the classroom to the tests better. We've got to have those bridges. We've got to have kids in school. Those of you who know me for a while know I spent 22 years as a high school principal, most of it in the alternative ed space. And I can tell you that without relationships, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, when we've got the most at-risk kids, that's the biggest thing. If they don't connect with adults in the building, it's going to be tough. So I think it's mainly those two things. Relationships, continuing to work on that with students, and then connecting our measures. Are we expecting as much out of our students, and are we helping and getting our students to take some ownership? That's work, and that's the FAME piece. With those folks, that will help our teachers do that work. A lot of people don't know this, but this assessment piece, most of us, that was no such thing. There was no assessment training in our training. It all came after the fact. So I didn't know a lot of this stuff when I started, and so we've just got to put those things in place and continue to connect those pieces.
Thank you.
Dr. Weaver?
Yeah, Mr. Orphan, I need you again. There's often, I've found a disconnect between state and local districts and what the expectations are in the state. So forgive me if this is a lame question, but I'm going to ask it. Are our teachers teaching to the tests?
In the sense that, I mean, you have your standards that are set by the state, and everybody's working hard to work toward those standards. We've got to get some unity about how we're getting there a little bit, but everybody's working toward those standards.
I'm sure they are.
So in that sense, yeah, you're kind of teaching toward the test, because if this is the standard and that's what they're measuring, which honestly our state tests do a pretty good job of figuring out, you know, how many kids in our state, which is what it's designed to do, are hitting those standards. So it does a pretty good job of that. It doesn't help us a lot tell whether Joe's getting there necessarily. We need more information than that. But it tells us across the board we're getting that. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, if it didn't, I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all very much. Next item on the agenda is 227.25. This is citizens' comments on agenda items. Again, if you wanted to speak tonight, make sure you fill out a form and get it in here to us, even if you're in one of the other rooms. If we move on from the agenda items, before you get the form up here, we'll get you in the next one in the non-agenda items. The only one I have so far is Tanda Karpinski.
Good evening. Almost 1 year ago, I stood before you with a request to use the ESSER funds to address overspending, avoid mass layoffs, and prevent the privatization of our transportation department. We urge you to hold off on making significant decisions until we had a clear understanding of the district's financial situation. I'd like to recap where we are in that 1 year's time. We have new leadership, which now includes a superintendent who engages with employees and recognizes the need to attract and retain staff. We currently have a new financial consultant after the failed efforts of the previous assistant superintendent of finance. We also currently have over 60+ open positions in the WWEA bargaining unit, along with several coaching vacancies, extracurricular positions, and numerous support staff vacancies. We have staff overloads with counselors and speech pathologists still working beyond their contractual limits. WWIA staff managing caseloads more than double of what is stipulated in their contracts. We have members taking on additional duties and working well beyond their job contractual hours to take on the duties that they don't get to do during the day because we have loss of planning periods. Teachers are not receiving their contractual planning periods, and students are regularly missing their specials and elective classes because those teachers are instead being asked to substitute in regular education classrooms, as well as regular education classrooms where students are housed in a cafeteria or a library because we don't have enough coverage. What do we also have? We have a fund balance that has increased from 6% to 26% in 1 year, and we now have the highest historic fund balance this district has ever seen, with an excess of $32 million. And yet, we still are facing serious challenges in this district because we also have contractual inaction. We have approximately 750 members that have been working without a contract for the past 4 months. We have compensation issues because these same employees have not received any experience steps or contractual wage increases or other contractual benefits. We have negotiations heading into mediation on Friday, which has not occurred since the WWAA went on strike in 2008. What does all this mean for the past year? It means that despite the financial recovery and the status of this district, our employees do not feel valued. There is a growing sense of disrespect, low morale, and the climate for recruiting new employees or retaining those who have been loyal to this district is deeply affected. Many of our dedicated staff members who have weathered not only the chaos of this past year, but often have spent their entire careers in this district, are now questioning whether the commitment to this district is reciprocated. So what can we do to ensure we don't find ourselves back in this same position again in a month, in a year? You have an opportunity, a responsibility to show your staff and your students and this community that they are valued. The education is valued, students and staff are respected, and it is essential to the future of this district. We need the district's negotiation team to move forward and settle the EA contract, providing employees with the respect they deserve.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is 228.25 consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to accept.
Do I have support?
Support.
Any questions, comments? All right, Ms. Hines, please take the roll.
Okay, so Ms. May is gonna be absent. Mr. Neal is absent. Ms. Hines, yes. Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Ms. Abney Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
President Gray,
Yes.
5 and 2. Motion carries.
Thank you. And I do want to clarify, Mr. Neal was excused from tonight's meeting, and Ms. May did have another engagement that she had a hard stop at 8 o'clock. Next item on the agenda is 229.25, review and approval of business service and finance. Ms. Curry?
Oh, thank you. As presented at the November Finance Committee meeting, we are requesting board approval to purchase a scissor lift kit for use at our automotive technology class at our Career Tech Center, per the recommendation of Ms. Polakevich, Executive Director of High School Curriculum and Instruction.
Do you have any questions?
Move approval.
Okay.
Support.
Support, yeah.
Okay, do you have any questions from the board?
One thing I'd like to say, recently we've been having our finance committee meetings as a board workshop. I think that's really good because we're able to see everything step by step. And then even though the packet's pretty thick, we're able to kind of look line item as specific questions before a meeting. So I think that's been very helpful. Even with this lift, you know, we had Ford come over to our Career Technical Center, and they were so impressed by the stuff that we had over there. They said that stuff that we had was stuff that they had at their, what Ms. Abney Mitchell, what that lady say?
Something in their own mechanic shop at Ford.
Yeah, so they were really impressed with our students, and I like our partnership that we do have with Ford, where they actually donated 4 brand new vehicles, Lincoln Navigators. I mean, it was just amazing. So I'm really proud as a board member to be able to, you know, approve these needs that our kids have for they can, you know, really be successful in life outside of high school. So, I mean, I think those study sessions are really helpful.
All right, seeing no further comments, Ms. Hines, take the roll call vote.
All right. We have Ms. Abney Mitchell,
Yes.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Ms. Hines, yes. Mr. Cox,
Yes.
President Gray,
Yes.
motion carries 5-2.
Next item is 230.25, review and approval of human resources. Dr. Feely?
Thank you, President Gray. At this time, I would like to make a recommendation for Bradley Basista to become the next Stevenson Assistant Principal. Mr. Basista comes to us with a bachelor's degree from Northern Michigan University in Public Administration and Psychology, a master's degree from Northern Arizona University in Educational Leadership. He also holds a professional administrator certificate and a professional education certificate in elementary K-5 all subjects. Mr. Batista comes to us from Washington, or held a position as a teacher in Washington Elementary School District. He was a teacher and interim principal in Humboldt Unified School District. He also was a restorative practice coordinator in Hamtramck Public Schools and an interim instructional specialist in Birmingham Public Schools. And most recently, he was a principal at Mount Morris Consolidated Schools. And I would like to make a recommendation for him to become the next Stevenson Assistant Principal.
Do I have a motion that the board approve human resource item 1?
Support.
All right, any questions from the board?
Is he here?
He's not in attendance tonight.
Well, I'd like to welcome him aboard.
All right, seeing no other comments, Ms. Hines can take the roll call vote.
Ms. Hines, yes. Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Ms. Abney Mitchell,
Yes, considering I already walked into.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
President Gray,
Yes.
5-2, motion carries.
Congratulations, Mr. Basista.
Welcome aboard.
Next item on the agenda, it's still Dr. Feely, sorry.
All right, thank you, President Gray. At this time, I would also like to recommend to the Board of Education that you approve our 3-year WABA contract agreement from 2024 through 2027. I also want to thank the WABA Leadership Bargaining Team for their hard work, collaboration, and commitment to work with the district leadership bargaining team to ratify a competitive and equitable contract. We believe this contract will attract and retain building administrators for years to come.
Move approval.
Do you have support?
Support.
All right. Do I have any questions from the board? All right, seeing none, Ms. Hines, take the roll call vote, please.
Dr. Weaver,
Yes.
Ms. Abney Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Hines, yes. President Cox,
Not anymore, but an enthusiastic yes.
okay. President Gray,
Yes.
motion carries 5-2. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
January's coming.
All right. Next item on the agenda is 231.25, citizens' comments, non-agenda items. The first person whose form I've received is Jackie St. Antoine.
Oh, that's not
Hi, my name is Jackie St. Antoine. I'm a special education teacher at Wayne Memorial High School, approaching 15 years in the district this January. I have taught here my whole career, and in my interview I said I wanted Wayne Wesleyan to be my forever home, and I meant that. Years later, here I am. I've been through a lot of ups and downs with this district, changes in leadership, amazing successes, and a lot of scary unknowns. And I'm still here. We are all still here. I have a doctorate in education. And when I finished my degree, everyone asked me if I was going to leave to go to higher education, to another district, or go into administration. But I never wanted to leave my home in the buildings. I never wanted to leave our community, my colleagues, my kids, and their families, because I believe all kids deserve exceptional teachers, and I'm dedicated and devoted to my home. When I tell people I'm a special education teacher, what do people say? You must have a lot of patience. And it's a wonderfully kind sentiment, and it's probably true, and I think most teachers have an exceptional amount of patience. Sometimes people say you're a saint or a superhero when you tell them you're a teacher. But teachers aren't saints, we aren't superheroes, we're people. People choosing to be here every day. And absolutely, teachers have a lot of patience, maybe more than we should. We have had patience. The hardest part of this job isn't having patience with students, but with the difficult adult stuff. We have patience as we navigate budget discrepancies, administrative changes, long board meetings where it was even offered to one of our colleagues, why don't you just quit? When the financial situation changed, in large part to our union, we continued to have patience, and as we approach the holiday season, we are still without a contract. We are asked to do more, be more, know more, give more, even given these uncertain times, and we do. When people say that we're heroes or saints or patient, I appreciate that sentiment, and we do have a lot of patience and have demonstrated it wading through this uncertainty. And it's time to stop asking us to be patient. Schools are magic places, but to call them magic is inaccurate. Dedicated teachers make magic. As each day goes by, we keep showing up and making magic. Whether it's Amanda Myers, a PE teacher who goes between 4 schools a day, packing up her car to give incredible lessons to our most needy students. Or Jen McCollum, a high school teacher who left the district and came back because, to put it in her words, there are no teachers like Wayne Wesleyan teachers. Or Kristen Van Dorn, an elementary teacher doing everything she can to help new students find a placement that best meets their needs, even though she could leave and teach anywhere because POHI is critical shortage. It's the clubs and the sports teams and music and theater and hall duty and planning hours spent subbing, parties, and showing up at kids' out-of-school baseball games. It's dedication, it's devotion, because we care about our kids. Teachers are here making magic, going above and beyond, and the magic hasn't stopped because we don't have a contract. Because we do it with a broken heart, we do it tired, we do it exhausted, hurting, scared, and disrespected. And I think I speak for many of my colleagues when I tell you that the weight of feeling unappreciated and disrespected is exhausting. Emotionally, physically, mentally. We care for our students, but who cares for us? We have been patient long enough. Our dedication, devotion, and patience has been taken for granted, and it's time to be treated with the respect we deserve. Thank you.
Next, we have Dave Daly. We have Dave Daly.
Good evening, Board. Thanks for giving me a moment to speak. I'm a teacher over at Wayne Memorial High School. I've been in this district for a little while. I've done other things, other buildings and whatnot. Many of you remember. So, let's start like this. Many hands is what I was told growing up from my father, a union worker. Many hands make work light. I have watched our central office team swell in size over the years. Those who've been working in this department could probably vouch for the truth in that statement. I also had the opportunity to work in this school district when its teaching and support staff was also swelling, reducing class sizes, providing more one-to-one and paraprofessional supports. I was a part of that grading advisory team, trying to align with the state and the school district. I was a part of that balanced assessment team. Back then, my expertise mattered. Before I was moved last year. For me, the teacher's work never really gets light, right? The work got lighter. Back then, it allowed many of us time and mental capacity to develop more, to enrich, to remediate, to learn our students' academic strengths weaknesses, as well as the often full suitcases of challenges that each were facing every single day. But fewer hands make the load heavy. Since 2023, these added staff have all evaporated. In our buildings, my class sizes gone from about 25 up to about 30, and here's like some mathematical differences. I know our district has issues with math. So 25 additional students throughout the whole course of the day makes a 17% increase. That's just math, right? So the question for me doesn't become like, where's my money? The question for me becomes, what happens when the take-home grading, right, goes up 17%? Because it's not like I'm going to grade less. From 30 up to 35 hours each week. That's reasonable, right? When my one-to-one time in the class with students drops down to 1 minute and 48 seconds, whose questions do I actually get to answer? Who gets my help today? That's what I have to balance. So since the swelling of our central office, the Google Form has become the golden ticket to teacher input. Yes, this is, in theory, saves time, but it lacks substance and value. The teacher form has become a shortcut, a way to circumvent real dialogue, real discussion, real innovation. The form is merely a box to check. Some work can be made more efficient through technology, sure, but in our district it has become a method for management to say, we did that. This work is too hefty to Google Form our way through. One hand is used to wash the other. When admin and educators actually work together to identify problems and develop solutions, the results are visible, the implementation is cleaner, the students and families are safer. Neither hand can wash itself. Think about that. Neither hand can wash itself. Neither the admin nor the teachers can solve our problems here alone. We need each other. Our students and families need us to work together. We need to clean up our district's past mistakes together. We can choose, both union and central office, to use our hands to climb over and try to tear one another down, or we can use our hands, lift each other up. That's unity.
Thank you. Next I have Alasia Ziegler.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alasia Ziegler, and I am a senior at John Glenn High School. Today, I will discuss the decision regarding Mr. Jackson's removal, hoping you will reconsider it. In 2018, multiple bills were passed that required school districts to take a more active role in assisting students as they prepare for their future education and careers, according to the Michigan Department of Education. To advance career readiness, the department merged with the Career Readiness Cross-Sector Team. It ensures all students, and especially underserved populations, have meaningful access to high-quality career pathways, and that a commitment to equity is embedded in all efforts to improve career preparation. The college and career readiness position that Mr. Jackson had was not just a placeholder position in school. He takes the initiative to let students know that many opportunities they have, even if it takes the form of constantly bugging us about completing our Zello accounts. Taking Mr. Jackson away would set John Glenn back to square one. Mr. Jackson has given many opportunities to students, and no matter what field they're interested in. He takes us on meaningful field trips where someone can experience what they potentially want to be firsthand. The relationship that Mr. Jackson has built with the staff and students of John Glenn is phenomenal. He never fails to make someone crack a smile. As a student, Mr. Jackson and I have a great connection. We joke with each other frequently, but we can also have serious conversations as well. Not only is he perfect for getting students on track, but he is especially great for Black students looking for guidance from someone they could potentially relate with. Tearing Mr. Jackson away from students is a horrible situation, especially if students' behavior needs to be controlled. Not only is he a career advisor, but he actively defends and handles students well, whether if it's an altercation between students or if the lunchroom is getting a little rowdy. Mr. Jackson is amazing for John Glenn all around, and the students will highly appreciate if he could reconsider his removal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Gwendolyn Williams.
Good evening. I stand before you as a mother, concerned parent, and a child family services civil service employee. In each role I carry, I believe being proactive and continuously seeking solutions solves problems. With that being said, I would like to state my concerns regarding my traffic concerns at John Glenn High School, specifically the front drop-off location. Parents drop their children off on Marquette by way of stopping in the turn lane on Marquette. They make U-turns in the middle of the street, and they also drop their children off on Marquette, leaving their children to cross the street in the middle of the early parts of the morning. Some of them have almost gotten hit, by myself in particular. Yes, the drop-off line has been an ongoing concern. Students are exiting vehicles in every direction. Drivers are parked in drop-off lanes, at times not even in their vehicles. Drivers are speeding into and out of the parking lot, and while picking my children up in the PM, I have witnessed 2 drivers entering the exit, and twice I've witnessed the school's police officer exit the entrance with no sirens or lights. Within a 2-year time frame, I have spoken with the Wayne Westland Police Department's traffic enforcement, the previous principal, the current principal, administrative staff at the admin building, and several office staff regarding my concerns. I've even gone so far as to volunteer to monitor the traffic in the mornings and to take any necessary trainings to resolve the issues. Last week, I called the school regarding a lengthy drop-off time and was told there were no office staff to assist other than the staff that was located at the back of the school monitoring students exiting buses. Today, I drove to the back of the school, and there was a staffer there monitoring the children's crosswalk, and also someone monitoring the traffic in the AM and PM at the Career Tech building. I have been told by all that I have mentioned that I am echoing the concerns of many. I ask you this evening to do as I have done and to take it a step further and continue seeking a remedy because one of our students' lives could depend on it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, I have Pastor Vernon Walker Sr.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I am Vernon Walker. This is my wife, Yolanda, and we pastor the New Destiny Center Church. Just recently moved here to Westland region, and we just wanted to come to the meeting tonight. Didn't understand how much would be going on, but this is really a great way for us to know what's going on in the community. So we want to come to do an introduction, to introduce ourselves, our ministry, of course, New Destiny Center Church. We currently hold service at the Spaceology Meeting Center on Warren, just west of Inkster. And we just wanted to come, introduce ourselves, and see how we can be a benefit and a partner to the school district, the community. We understand that it really does take a village to raise our children. So we would like to be a part of that village and not just be a prayer, a church that prays, but we want to be hands-on in the community. So we wanted to come here and introduce ourselves and let you know our vision is we sell, S-E-L-L, and part of that, what it means is we serve, we equip, we love, and we lead. So part of that agenda for us is to serve the community. Part of that being in the school system, how we can mentor, how we can volunteer, show the love of God through our hands-on approach. And then we equip our leaders to do the same thing. And then we show individuals that who we really are by leading out. So I wanted to come here tonight just to introduce ourselves, let everyone know that we're in the community. We're excited to be a part of this community and be a part of this village. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and welcome to the community. And last we have for non-agenda items as well, Tanya Karpinski. Did you have any more? Did you get through? That was just in case you didn't get through it.
Yeah,
Right. No worries. Next item on the agenda is 232.25, interim superintendent's report and comments.
Oh, thank you. Last week, I had the pleasure of attending the EMU Bright Futures event for our families at Franklin Middle School. The evening featured dinner, interactive activity stations for the students, and this program plays a crucial role in fostering both academic and personal growth for our students, so I appreciate the partnership. This morning, University of Michigan drama and dance teams were at Wayne Memorial to perform Painless, the opioid musical for our seniors and drama students. Not sure how many of you got to see it, but it delivered a very impactful message. That Evolve Vision Van will be at Roosevelt, Hamilton, Edison, and Elliott this week to provide free vision screenings and eyeglasses for our students. And on Friday, Taft Galloway will host its first ever turkey trot, a 1 mile run and walk through the guided neighborhood. So I'm hoping to make it there. And lastly, I do hope that everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving, extended break next week, and can enjoy time with family and friends.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is 233.25, review and recommendations, Board of Education. Mr. Cox.
Thank you, President Gray. Pastor, I'd like to thank you and your wife for coming here tonight and introducing yourselves and offering to help. There's a place for you here. We certainly appreciate it, and we appreciate you staying so late to talk to us tonight, so thank you, sir. When I got to the parking lot this evening, I saw what looked like a demonstration that was going to take place, and you have signs, Wayne Westland teachers deserve respect. Totally agree. Are you being treated disrespectfully? Yes.
Yes.
How so?
We can't have that conversation.
As a member of the Board of Education, I have a role to play on the administrative side of negotiations, and there's nothing about what we've been talking about that's disrespectful. Nothing. So, I don't know if you know what we've been talking about, but there's nothing disrespectful about it. So, anyway, that's all I have.
Ms. Abney Mitchell.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that spoke and welcome to the community. And teachers, I love you. Our students love you. And I wish you guys are all happy Thanksgiving. And you know, today I am thankful for you and the service that you give to our students in our community. And I just wish everybody a wonderful Thanksgiving with their family and their friends. And oh my God, I always get emotional. But if there's anything that I can do to help you guys, let me know.
Ms. Hines.
Yes, I'd like to say we had a really great meeting today. Student achievement is very important, and we do have to make sure that we're giving our kids the resources that they need to be successful, especially when we're being measured by other districts like Livonia and Canton. I'm really proud to say with our superintendent, Jen Curry, we were able to increase our student count. That's very important because we get our money off our student count, so thank you for that, and I thank the staff for all your work that you have done too. It has been a very emotional year. Again, when we had that deficit, that shortfall, that 17 million, it was heart-shattering. You know, as a board member, it was very difficult to push against the grain to not privatize, to not lay off, regardless what the numbers were. You know, thank God that we were able to find that money. I am concerned about what's happening in politics right now. You know, we've lost the House, you know, we've lost a lot. And with this new presidency, and I'm not trying to get political, but as a board member, getting rid of the Department of Education is scary. Getting rid of free lunch is scary. Taking down unions is scary. You can't make policies that's going to cause the district money. I'm really concerned about you know, what's gonna happen in the future, even when it comes to like insurance premiums, you know, different things, cost of living. You know, right now we have thousands of people losing their jobs in the automotive industry. It's not even January. So, you know, as Wayne Weston, we are a very tight community. We have to hold strong. So I just wanted to put that out there as a board member. I am super concerned about what's coming down the line for school districts and figuring out how to fund it. And again, I thank God that we were able to have these resources, because if we would have started out with that shortfall and what's coming up, we would have been in some serious trouble. So, you know, I thank everybody for their patience. You know, we're definitely working through these contracts, but we will get through this. We always have. We're Wayne Westland strong. Again, I see you guys have the Teachers of Unity. We will work together. We will resolve these issues. I like to say I'm actually the president of the Kiwanis Club, so I'm super excited about that because our thing is about literacy. You know, we have different programs. We have the K Kids to the elementary, the Builders Club at middle school, the Key Club. We were actually able to get an organization to donate $400 to sponsor the Key Club at John Glenn. So I was able to go to John Glenn this week and work with our kids with the Key Club. They're making some blankets. We have our Kiwanis Club meetings twice a month. We meet on the second Tuesday at the Wayne Westland Library at 3:15, and now we're gonna go to Wayne, so we're gonna have our fourth meetings on the Tuesdays. We're gonna have our meeting on the fourth Tuesday of the month at US 12 at 6 o'clock so that more people can come. We are looking for partnerships, Pastor. We are looking for sponsors because, again, literacy is important. You guys seeing the data, a lot of our kids are not even meeting expectations. That's very important. And again, when we have more community involvement, that will help with maybe finding ways to get our kids to school, you know, maybe, you know, social programs to help us figure out why the kids are missing school. As the Kiwanis Club, we are going to be working with a partnership with Wayne Westland Salvation Army, so we will be doing the kettle drive December the 7th from 1 to 7 at the Kroger's over on Ford Road and Central City Parkway. I definitely would love you guys to participate and help get money for that because the Salvation Army, they give a lot of food. They do a lot with clothing and programs in our neighborhoods. That's super important. I'm actually with the Wayne Chamber of Commerce. They are having their annual Christmas luncheon December 3rd from 12:30 to 2 p.m. at the Wayne Tree Manor. So I'm actually a part of the Wayne Chamber of Commerce, and I'm there to help them grow and build because, again, we are a community, and it's important to support these programs to help the businesses in the area. And even as citizens, you know, to start your own business, to have your own extra money coming is very important. That helps to build generational wealth. We were able to go to the Lansing with the Michigan Association of School Boards and took a couple of classes. We did one on board self-evaluation, new member onboarding. That's really important. We have 2 members coming on. We have Mr. Ambrose and we have Mr. Rashawn that's going to be joining us. So it's very important as we have new board members to help them on board properly, to make sure they have all the resources that they need to be successful in their journeys. We had a succession planning class, and that's important too with the district superintendent situation. We're always, you know, having new superintendents, so we need to have some type of succession plan in place so if something were to happen, we have, you know, people in the background because it's very difficult to replace superintendents. I had a class on managing construction projects. We do have a lot of things going on with Marshall. We have to figure out, you know, how to get the money to demolish it with the asbestos. You know, we have boiler issues over at Winter Walker. I'm glad we were able to keep that school open, but it's going to be at a cost. And, okay, so we were able to go to coffee hours, so thank you, Superintendent Jen, with those coffee hours that we had with the community. That was great. There was a play over at Wayne Memorial. I just happened to kind of pop in, so I was able to go there. And then, oh, and one thing, too, definitely we just have to be mindful that, you know, the holidays are coming. And we had GrowthWorks come. They did a presentation about student suicide, you know, in the attempts. So, you know, just be mindful that people might be going through certain things, you know, be that shoulder, be that voice that they might need because, you know, this is a very trying time of year for a lot of people. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Dr. Weaver?
Yes, thank you, Pastor, and your wife for being here. I'm one of you. And so I understand what's in your heart as far as service, and I appreciate that. It is, again, good to have Mr. Rashawn and Mr. Ambrose here. Yes. Mr. Rashawn has on the correct hat, and I hope he wears that up here when he comes onto the board. I have to admit a little bit of concern that new hires are not feeling the need to appear before the board when they're hired. We've had 3 or 4 in the past little bit. It used to be that when Wayne Westland employees were hired, that they were at the board. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't high-smelling or something and driving them away. So I would hope that they would be here. I do.
I was gonna say, Dr. Weaver, he had Mr. Batista had an existing obligation to attend to today.
I'm sure he did. I am a little bit concerned, and I do want to say it. First of all, thank you all for being here. When I drove through the parking lot, I was honking and waving to you. I believe in Wayne Westland teachers. What I'm concerned about tonight is the leakage to community members to put one side of the issue on the table and not the other side. You talk about feeling disrespected. When I read that, I felt disrespected because we on this side have observed silence. I'm led to wonder whether we are able to put our side on our district website. And I think that that would help us if we would do that, so that the general membership understands what's on the table. So anyway, I do want to say that I would like to see that happen because, as Mr. Cox said, there's no teachers being disrespected at all. And I truly believe that. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to first also thank the Reverend for being here tonight and for offering services to our community. We're always willing to partner with members of the community in many different ways, and welcome to the Westland community. I want to thank our students and our presenters tonight, and I do want to thank our principals for coming tonight. I know that having these longer presentations now about the schools does take a little bit of time into our already long meetings, but I think it's important that we know what's going on in our schools. And I think it's great that we're giving an opportunity for them to showcase that. I do also want to address the John Glenn parking situation. I know that that's an issue that's been brought up, not just about John Glenn, but about a number of schools in our district. And I would recommend that we do look at trying to increase our partnership with the city when it comes to things like that. I know over at Stevenson, there are a lot of issues as well with people turning around in the middle of the road. And also maybe it's something we can consider in the next bond. To the board members, just want to acknowledge that in your packets you do have something from Ms. Maya from MASB regarding cell phone policy. Just make sure to take a look at that. I think she wanted to talk about it, but she did have to leave. I want to congratulate Mr. Ambrose and Mr. Roshan for their official wins. We kind of knew it was going to be this way, but congratulations on you for your official wins. And I won't be here in January, but I wish you all the best success, and I know we'll be in touch over the next couple of months getting ready for that transition. And then last, I do want to just, thank all the teachers that were here until my comments just now. Some of you may know, thank you. Some of you may know that when it comes down to it, I won't be voting on this issue because I do have an immediate family member, so because of a conflict of interest. But I do support your right to protest and also support your right to collectively bargain. And that's all I have tonight, except for wishing you all a great Thanksgiving. And I'll see you here next month for my final meeting. Thank you. Last item on the agenda is 234.25 adjournment. Do I have a motion that the board adjourn?
So
And support?
moved. Support.